This is Valerie Grimes, the Hypnotic Hiker, and I'm going to try and prove to you that nature is the drug that will help us improve our mental outlook and our emotional states.
I'm free. I'm free.
The Hypnotic Hiker presents Hypnotic Trip, a virtual mind trip experience, a series of guided journeys that take you back to your true self. In these episodes, you'll discover the power of your subconscious mind and how to easily change any old outdated programs from birth that have kept you stuck. You'll enjoy some virtual hikes, plus I'll share the divine interventions that I've encountered on my hikes and how I put those into my spiritual practice. You'll learn walking meditation and self-hypnosis. By the way, I've been a clinical hypnotist in Dallas since 2002. In addition, we'll explore the importance of staying connected to that wild child within you and in touch with your primitive instincts. We'll talk about how the modern world has tried to change us into the cogs of a machine. I'll dive into mass hypnosis and the concept of transhumanism. We will even explore regenerative ranching and agriculture via a virtual tour of my homestead. But the most important discovery you'll have is how to lose that shadow self and to love yourself again, to stand on your own 2 feet and think from your heart mind and speak with your true voice. You'll gain the freedom to be your absolute best self. I'm Valerie, the Hypnotic Hiker. So are you ready for a new relationship with you? We can do that, and it begins in nature. Come along with me now. Welcome to episode 4, How to Improve Your Mental Health in Nature. Your brain can be a spoiled child. It actually is a spoiled child. What an interesting idea. When something is familiar to you, your brain is in control, and it can be really judgy when we try to change things. It's spoiled. It wants what it knows. It wants the familiar, the known. When something is unfamiliar, that's actually better for the brain because it gets thrown off, and that's the best time to learn something new. When we try to start out with a new way of doing things, because the brain is a spoiled child, it wants to just go back to the way it was doing it. It doesn't want to do what it doesn't know how to do or a way that's not familiar. So it might say to you, that's too hard. You've tried that before. It doesn't work. So I went to the Grand Canyon a couple of years ago, summertime. And so this hypnotic trip examines what's happening in the brain when you're in nature and how that response is the same neurological occurrence that allows us to change the emotions of a past event, which is kind of the pinnacle of hypnotherapy. Did I mention I'm a hypnotherapist and I've been doing that? They always say practicing hypnosis. It's like I've been practicing for 20 years, since 2002. Okay, so back to the show. So today's trip happens in Arizona at the Grand Canyon, and it's summertime, and specifically we are at the Kaibab Trail, Kaibab Trail on the South Rim. Temps are in the 110s with little shade. It's the desert. So why am I hiking in the desert in the middle of the summer? Because I've never done that before. And I love the element of surprise, those brain surprises. I'm fascinated at how my brain reacts and adjusts in new surroundings. And you will be too. I find that in that state I'm much more alert and therefore prepared. Whereas going to a place I've been before, I'm not as tuned in. My brain is familiar and in a familiar setting, and therefore it's on autopilot. So the subconscious mind will automatically go in the direction of the familiar. So sometimes we have to get off the trail, take a different trail to kind of throw the mind off. So doing that actually creates a natural anxiety, which is good. Being in an anxious state is similar to how hypnosis occurs. You see, getting thrown off our normal track or our comfort causes us to switch from conscious mind to our feeling subconscious mind. The creative mind activity increases while the logical mind activity is decreased, and therefore our instincts can kick in. So this is how this hike at the Grand Canyon really threw me off track. Remember, it's a good thing. First, the bus left at 5 a.m. for the trailhead, and we'd slept in the car the night before. Oh my God. Second, we hiked down 2,200 feet and then back up, which is the opposite of the mountain climbs that I'm used to. Third, it's a very hot climate. Plus, it's at a higher altitude, even though we're going down. And fourth, just the endless expanse of the canyon. It was really hard for the brain to process what was happening, to just look out there, because we're so used to seeing a building close to us, right? So it's just the brain is trying to process what it's seeing. So there are 3 different points, and the last point, which was the turnaround spot for us, was 3 miles out. It's called Skeleton Point. And I overheard some wisdom from a guide that was addressing a group he was leading. And he was talking about what I just mentioned, about how the brain is processing those dramatic views. So I'm going to put a link in the show notes to a YouTube video that I created a couple years ago of the Grand Canyon trip. There's beautiful photos in there, and you can listen to see what he was referring to. So I believe it was around 11:30 a.m. when we returned to the trailhead. That last hour was tough. Several people that we were hiking down with, that we were talking to, had heat exhaustion on the way back up. And the next week, my friend Brian actually told me a couple people had died on that very same trail. So if you're planning on hiking, this is a side note, kind of segueing into the episode I'll do later on tips about hiking, is you've got to bring a lot of water, and there's actually signs that say do not hike this trail without at least, I don't know what they said, 64 ounces of water. These people were hiking with regular shoes, footwear, and 1 bottle of water. So, yeah, you've got to be prepared. So, your brain is capable of learning something new. And when you're in a new experience like this Grand Canyon hike, it's the best time to do it. On actual hypnotic trips, the hikers and I are in that learning state of mind, and I guide them through processing out an old idea and creating a new one and a new emotional response. So there was a woman named Stacy who went on one of my hikes in the grasslands in East Texas, and we hiked a couple of miles, and then we stopped to do the hypnotic part of the hypnotic hiking experience. And so she had recently divorced and was still triggered by the sight of a blue Dodge Ram truck. Any blue Dodge Ram truck sent her in kind of an anxious, maybe fearful or angry state. I'm not sure what that emotion was, but she was really tired of it, and it was just like PTSD, real mild, but you know, her mind had associated her ex-husband's truck in the way that she felt. So every time she saw a truck like his, she's going to feel that way. Pretty common. So what we did was had her create a memory of a time that she was feeling, and you can do this along with me right now, to remember a time that you were feeling really confident, strong, accomplished, doesn't matter what it was, any time at all. It could have been in fourth grade when you won the prize for selling the most popcorn or something like that. But a time that you just felt very proud of yourself, very much like independent, you can do anything, happy, ready to move forward in your life. And then you really own that and bring in visuals, bring in, physical sensations and emotional feeling, and then create a symbol, a visual symbol, like a flower, the sun, the big, beautiful tree. And then project that feeling onto that object. And then breathe into that and really give it a lot of energy so that every time you see that object, you feel very strong, very accomplished, ready to move forward on your path. Nothing disturbs you. So that's an example of how you can change your emotional response. And it's so much easier when you do that out in nature, so that you're stepping away from all of the norm. Let's talk a little clinical here. So neuroscientists, I don't know any of them, but I read this. So it must be true. Actually, you got to check that stuff out. But I have. So most neuroscientists once believed that implicit memories and avoidance reactions were locked permanently in one's brain pathways. Research from the really late 90s and into the early 2000s showed that we can unlock these neural pathways and actually erase them and substitute new learnings. This is what makes hypnosis and hypnotherapists successful at helping clients move on and from the past and improve their mental and emotional health. Further, neurons that encode whether a memory is positive or negative, that blue truck was a negative, can be reprogrammed to switch the emotional association of any experience. It's pretty incredible. So I practice modern day neuroscience with centuries-old hypnotic practices to improve one's mental health. Get out in nature, it heals. Or schedule an appointment with me at theflowcenter.com. This podcast is sponsored in part by Simply Organic Soap, maker of plant-based organic soaps, lotion bars, salts, and other bath products infused with essential oils to care for your skin and to connect you with nature. The Simply Hypnotic soap was inspired by me, the Hypnotic Hiker. You can take a bath on the wild side by ordering that product and other products at the link in the show notes. Simply Organic Soap, made in Texas. Follow them on Instagram and Facebook and stay up to date on all their latest products, promotions, and make it yourself events.